Let me ask you something right now. What would happen in your life if you stopped scattering your focus and instead gave every ounce of your energy to one thing that truly matters? Most people wake up each day with good intentions, but no direction. They're running around like they're busy juggling 20 different goals, projects, and distractions. But here's the truth. You don't need more goals. You need more focus. Clarity is what separates those who make progress from those who stay stuck. Think of a magnifying glass. On its own, it's just a piece of glass. But when you point it at the sun and hold it still, boom, it creates fire. That's what happens when you focus. You create heat. You build momentum. You ignite results. Multitasking, that's a myth. It's just a fancy word for doing a lot of things poorly. Your brain wasn't wired to switch constantly from one task to another. Every time you jump from one thing to the next, you lose energy, you lose time, and most importantly, you lose presence. You want to know what creates real fulfillment? Full engagement. The power to go deep, not wide. Now listen carefully. The most successful people in the world don't do more, they do less, but they do it better. They understand that mastery comes from repetition, from commitment, from giving everything to one mission until excellence becomes automatic. Whether it's business, fitness, art, or relationships, it's the same principle. Consistent focus over time turns average into extraordinary. But to focus on one thing, you've got to let go of the noise. You've got to cut the fat. You've got to be willing to say no, not just to bad opportunities, but to good ones that aren't aligned with your highest purpose. You don't rise by saying yes to everything. You rise by saying yes to the right thing and protecting it with everything you've got. And let's talk about energy. Your energy follows your attention. You can either give your focus to problems, gossip, distractions, or you can aim it like a laser toward your mission. You can direct your thoughts. You can direct your life toward your mission. That energy you've been wasting, reclaim it, reinvest it, focus it. You'll be shocked at what you can accomplish when you stop dividing yourself and start aligning yourself. People think success is complicated. It's not. It's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Find the one thing that moves the needle in your life and go all in. Make it your obsession. Cut the rest. Say no more often. Wake up with intention. Finish what you start. That's how legacies are built. Remember this. The people who change the world don't chase everything. They commit to one thing. Pulled in 10 different directions, saying yes to everything and wondering why they feel so drained, so overwhelmed, so lost. It's not the weight of life that's crushing them. It's the confusion, the absence of clarity, the inability to define what really matters. You can't hit a target you can't see. Think about that. Imagine walking into an archery range blindfolded, firing arrows randomly, and hoping to hit a bullseye. That's how most people are living their lives. They wake up, go through the motions, do what feels urgent, react to whatever comes their way, and then wonder why they're not fulfilled, not successful, not progressing. The answer is simple. They don't know what they're aiming for. Clarity is the power that aligns your actions with your purpose. When you get clear, when you decide with absolute certainty what your one thing is, your energy changes, your behavior changes, your standards rise. You stop dabbling and start committing. You stop reacting and start creating. Suddenly you're not wasting time trying to be everything to everyone. You're focused, intentional, dangerous in the best way. Look at anyone who's achieved greatness in any field, whether it's business, sports, music, or leadership. What do they have in common? They knew exactly what they were after. They weren't unclear. They weren't trying to chase 5 different dreams at once. They locked in on a target, made it their mission, and moved toward it with obsession. That's not luck. That's clarity in action. Clarity creates confidence. Most people hesitate because they're unsure. They think they have a motivation problem when what they really have is a clarity problem. They don't act boldly because they're afraid of wasting time or energy But when you define exactly what you want, you eliminate that fear. You become decisive. You stop second guessing and start executing. But here's the part most people miss. Clarity doesn't come from thinking alone. It comes from making decisions. You don't wait for clarity to show up. You create it. You sit down, ask yourself the hard questions, and refuse to settle for vague answers. What do I really want? What's the one goal that if I achieved it would change everything else in my life? What am I willing to trade for it? Until you answer those questions with brutal honesty, you will always be at the mercy of distraction. And let's not confuse being busy with being clear. Some of the busiest people in the world are also the most lost. They wear their hustle like a badge of honor, but have no idea what it's really for. They're grinding, yes, but grinding without a clear purpose is just motion without meaning. It's burnout in disguise. It's exhausting and it leads nowhere. When you're clear, your schedule changes. You stop filling your calendar with junk. You prioritize ruthlessly. You protect your time, your energy, your focus, because you know what it's all for. You don't need 10 goals, you need one that matters. One that inspires you, scares you a little, and demands your full attention. People will try to pull you in every direction. They'll offer you opportunities, distractions, shortcuts, and detours. If you're not clear on your direction, you'll chase them all and catch none. But when you are clear, saying no becomes easier. You don't say no because you're rude. You say no because your mission matters more than momentary approval. Clarity is also what fuels consistency. When you're clear, you don't need to wake up and decide what to do. You already know. Your actions are already mapped. You're not winging it. You're executing a plan. That creates momentum. That builds discipline. And over time, discipline becomes identity. You start to see yourself differently, not as someone who's trying, but as someone who's becoming. Someone who's creating something that matters. Someone who isn't wasting time chasing shiny objects, but is building a life that reflects their deepest values and greatest vision. So if you're stuck, overwhelmed, or frustrated, start there. Get clear. Stop chasing clarity from the outside. It won't come from more noise, more opinions, or more scrolling. It will come from stillness, from decision, from owning what you really want and having the courage to go after it. And so remember, the top priority is not merit, because once you get clear on the one thing that truly matters, everything else starts to make sense. People wear multitasking like a badge of honor. They brag about juggling 5 things at once, thinking it makes them more productive, more efficient, more valuable. But the truth is, it's a lie. It's a seductive illusion that's robbing people of real progress. Multitasking doesn't make you faster, it makes you fragmented. It doesn't help you achieve more, it helps you stay average in everything and excellent in nothing. The human mind was never designed to perform multiple high-focus tasks at the same time. You might be able to walk and talk or chew gum and think, but the second you try to write an email while replying to messages, while checking notifications, while thinking about your next meeting, your performance drops. Not slightly, significantly. Every time you switch your focus from one task to another, you burn mental energy. You create cognitive residue. And what that means is, even when you return to the original task, you're not coming back fresh. You're coming back distracted, slower, less creative. Think about how many times you've sat down to do something important, only to get pulled away by something meaningless. A notification, a random idea, a question from someone that could have waited. Then you come back, but it takes you another 5 or 10 minutes just to remember where you were. That's not productivity. That's self-sabotage in disguise. And it becomes a pattern. Days pass, weeks pass, and you wonder why nothing big is getting done. It's because your mind is constantly splintered between too many shallow things. Multitasking feeds the illusion of busyness without the substance of results. You feel like you're working hard, but you're not building anything of value. Your energy is scattered. Your attention is diluted. And the worst part, your confidence suffers Because deep down, you know you're not operating at your highest level. You know you're capable of more, but you can't seem to get into the zone. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine giving your full attention to one thing that matters. Imagine what would happen if you cleared out the noise, turned off the distractions, and went deep. Not for 5 minutes, but for a full hour, 2 hours, maybe more. No switching, no drifting, just pure focused effort. And that's where breakthroughs happen. That's where real creativity kicks in. That's where you stop surviving and start performing. The myth of multitasking is killing dreams. It's convincing people that doing more means achieving more. But the real achievers, the ones who actually move the needle, don't spread themselves thin. They time block, they create space, they protect their focus like it's sacred because they know that everything great is built in states of deep concentration. Writing a book, launching a business, transforming your body, rebuilding a relationship, it all requires presence. You can't transform anything you're half present for. And let's not forget the emotional toll. Multitasking increases stress. It increases the likelihood of mistakes. It creates a constant low-grade anxiety that makes you feel behind, even when you're busy all day. That's why people collapse at night feeling exhausted but unfulfilled. They've been moving all day, but they haven't created anything meaningful. Here's the shift. Productivity is not about doing more things. It's about doing the right thing with full focus until it's done. That's where your power is. That's where your best work lives. When you learn to single huck, to give everything you've got to the one most important thing in front of you, everything begins to change. Your results accelerate. Your confidence rises. Your stress drops. And you begin to feel the pride that comes from finishing things that matter, not just starting them. So the next time you feel tempted to juggle, stop, ask yourself, what's the one thing that deserves my full attention right now? And then honor it. Turn down the noise. Say no to the side conversations. Shut the tabs, ignore the pings, let the world wait. This is your time to focus. Because multitasking might make you feel busy, but focus will make you unstoppable. Most people are waiting for some magical moment to begin. They think they need more time, more money, more motivation, more clarity, so they stay stuck in planning, in thinking, in wishing. But life doesn't reward the ones who wait. It rewards the ones who move. Because the truth is, nothing builds confidence, clarity, or progress like momentum. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start. That first step, no matter how small, sets something powerful in motion. It creates movement, and movement creates feedback. Feedback creates learning. Learning fuels progress, and progress creates results. That cycle is how momentum works. Once it begins, it builds on itself. But if you never start, you never get to experience that force. You can't master anything if you're only showing up occasionally. The difference between someone who dabbles and someone who dominates is consistency. It's not about talent. It's not about having the best tools or perfect timing. It's about getting in the game and staying there long enough to let mastery take root. Momentum is what allows you to break through that wall most people hit. The wall of boredom, frustration, or doubt. The wall where it no longer feels exciting and it starts to feel hard. That's where most people quit. But if you stay with it, if you keep showing up, momentum carries you through that wall. And on the other side is where real growth lives. Look at anyone who's great at what they do. They didn't get there by doing it once in a while. They didn't rely on bursts of motivation. They created momentum through daily commitment. Whether it's an athlete training for the Olympics, a musician mastering their instrument, or an entrepreneur building a business from scratch, they built their mastery through repetition, through boring days, through off days, through days when nothing was working but they showed up anyway. That's how momentum becomes discipline, and discipline becomes identity. Momentum doesn't have to come from massive action. It starts with the smallest steps, done consistently. You don't have to run a marathon today. Just put your shoes on and walk. You don't have to write a book today. Just write one page. The key is movement, action, repetition. Every time you take action, you cast a vote for the person you're becoming. Every time you show up, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable, you prove to yourself that you're not waiting to feel ready. You're building readiness through doing. The challenge is that most people let their feelings control their actions. They think they need to feel inspired before they can move. But it works the other way around. You don't move because you're inspired. You become inspired because you move. Action creates energy. It shakes off the dust. It wakes up your brain. It gets your heart in the game. The more you move, the more you learn. The more you learn, the better you get. And the better you get, the more motivated you become. That's the feedback loop that mastery is built on. Momentum also gives you power in the face of setbacks. When you've been consistent for weeks or months, a bad day doesn't destroy you. It's just a ripple in the current. You can course correct without losing everything. But when you have no momentum, every little obstacle feels like a mountain. You lose your footing easily. You doubt yourself more. That's why starting and building momentum early is so critical. It becomes your anchor, your protection, your weapon against resistance. And momentum isn't just about performance, it's about identity. Every time you take action, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who follows through, someone who finishes, someone who keeps promises, especially to themselves. That kind of self-trust is rare and powerful because once you begin to see yourself as that kind of person, everything changes. You stop waiting. You start moving. You stop negotiating with excuses. You start living with purpose. So if you feel stuck, don't overthink it. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Just move. Do the thing you know you need to do. It might feel small. It might feel awkward. It might not be impressive at first, but that's okay. That's how it begins. One step, one action, one commitment, done again and again and again. How momentum is born. And once you've got it, it's one of the most unstoppable forces you'll ever experience. Because momentum, once it's in motion, doesn't just build mastery, it builds a new you. Most people think success is about doing more effort, more goals, more hustle. But the truth is, real success often begins with subtraction. It begins when you stop trying to carry everything and start asking yourself, what do I need to let go of? Because until you eliminate the unnecessary, you will never fully commit to what's essential. Elimination is not about loss, it's about liberation. It's about cutting away the noise, the distractions, the half-hearted efforts that dilute your energy and steal your time. You can't go deep when your attention is pulled in 20 directions. You can't grow into your potential when you're constantly saying yes to things that don't serve it. Most people are overwhelmed not because life is too full, but because it's too cluttered with the wrong commitments, the wrong habits, the wrong people, and the wrong priority. They wake up and go through the day reacting to everything that screams for their attention without stopping to ask, is this even worth my time? Is this aligned with the life I want to build? When you don't eliminate distractions by choice, they take over by default. Your focus is not stolen, it's surrendered. Freedom doesn't come from adding more, it comes from removing what no longer belongs. When you decide what no longer serves your purpose, whether it's a habit, a routine, a relationship, or even a belief, you create space. And that space, that's where focus lives. That's where creativity returns. Until you clear out what's draining you, you'll never have enough capacity to go all in on what matters most. Letting go is hard for most people. They fear that saying no to something means closing the door forever. They worry about disappointing others, missing out, or making a mistake. But here's what they don't see. Every time you say yes to something unimportant, you are saying no to something essential. You can't hold on to everything and expect to move forward. Progress demands decisions. Growth demands sacrifice. And excellence demands focus. You must become ruthless about protecting your energy. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every invitation deserves a response. Not every opportunity is aligned with your mission. And until you learn to say no clearly, confidently, and without guilt, you'll stay stuck. You'll keep spinning your wheels, trying to do it all, and never feeling like you're actually moving. When you eliminate what's unnecessary, you stop managing chaos and start building something meaningful. You shift from being busy to being intentional, and you start living life by design, not by default. Elimination forces clarity. It forces you to define what really matters to you, not what looks good, not what's popular, but what aligns with your deepest values and your highest vision. And once you're clear on that, you stop chasing and start creating. Think about the most powerful people, the most focused minds, the most successful leaders. They don't try to do everything. They're not running in every direction. They've mastered the art of elimination. They've chosen what matters most and cut everything else. They've simplified their lives, their routines, their goals. And that simplicity is their strength. Because when you remove the noise, what remains is signal. And signal creates results. This applies to every area of life. Want to be healthier? Eliminate the junk food, junk routines, junk excuses. Want a stronger mindset? Eliminate toxic input, negative people, pointless scrolling, shallow distractions. Want better results in your work? Eliminate busy work and focus on the one thing that moves the needle. It's not about having more hours. It's about having fewer leaks. Elimination is an act of courage. It forces you to confront the things you've been tolerating, the habits that waste time, the people who drain you, the responsibilities you've outgrown. It's easy to keep them around. It's comfortable. But comfort is the enemy of growth. If you want to rise, you have to release. You have to let go of the good to make room for the great. So if you feel stuck, scattered, or stretched too thin, don't add more to your plate. Look at what you can subtract. What's no longer serving you? What are you holding on to out of fear, habit, or guilt? What's getting in the way of your focus, your energy, your progress? Be honest. Be bold. Because the moment you begin to let go of what you don't need, you create the space to become who you're meant to be. Elimination isn't restriction. It's alignment. It's the discipline of deciding what deserves to stay and what must go. And the more you let go of what doesn't matter, the more power you have to pursue what does. Every single day, you're feeding something. With every thought, every choice, every second of attention, you are investing your energy into something. And whatever you give your attention to grows. Most people don't understand how powerful this truth is. They live as if their attention is unlimited, as if they can spread it across a dozen different worries, conversations, distractions, and goals, and still expect to feel fulfilled, focused, and energized. But the reality is, attention is a currency. And just like money, where you spend it determines the quality of your return. If you give your attention to fear, you feed it. If you focus on lack, you magnify it. If you fixate on problems, you train your brain to find more of them. And that's not spirituality, that's neuroscience. The mind is built to reinforce what you focus on. When you dwell on chaos, your nervous system becomes chaotic. When you obsess over uncertainty, your emotions follow. But when you focus on solutions, your energy starts to shift. When you place your attention on progress, even the smallest win, you build momentum. The quality of your energy is tied directly to the quality of your focus. People wonder why they feel so tired, so anxious, so defeated, yet they're constantly consuming negativity. They wake up and scroll through noise. They talk about problems they can't control. They engage in conversations that drain instead of build. They open themselves to everything and then wonder why they can't concentrate on what really matters. You can't feed your focus to everything and expect to stay strong. You have to choose what gets your attention, because that's what controls your emotional state. The most powerful individuals in the world have one thing in common. They protect their focus. They know they can't give energy to everything and still be exceptional at anything. So they get intentional. They filter. They decide. And they align their attention with their purpose. That alignment is where power comes from. When your thoughts, your actions, and your energy are all moving in the same direction, nothing can stop you. But when your attention is fractured, your power is weakened. You start something, stop halfway, switch to something else, check your phone, lose your rhythm, forget your mission. That cycle is the death of progress. If you want to change your life, start by changing what you look at. What you focus on, you feel. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. It's not just a quote, it's how the brain is wired. Your nervous system follows your focus. Your decisions are shaped by your perception, and your life is built moment by moment based on what you choose to give energy to. Now think about this. What if, starting today, you took control of your attention the same way you would protect your finances or your health? What if you filtered out what's irrelevant and dialed in on what's meaningful? What if you stopped giving energy to every distraction, every opinion, every notification, and started giving your full attention to your goals, your growth, your mission? Your entire state would change. Your clarity would sharpen. Your confidence would rise. Because you're no longer giving the best of you to things that don't deserve it. Your attention is the gateway to your future. You can't build a powerful life if your focus is weak. You can't lead, grow, or succeed if you're constantly scattered. That's why protecting your focus is not a nice to have, it's non-negotiable. You need boundaries. You need rituals. You need moments of stillness to reset your focus and bring your attention back to what matters. Because no matter how ambitious your goals are, they mean nothing if your attention is constantly hijacked by the trivial. It's time to reclaim your energy by reclaiming your focus. Be intentional with what you let in. Guard your mental space like your future depends on it, because it does. Every moment you spend focused on growth, on service, on becoming better, that's energy well spent. That's energy that multiplies, that lifts you, that moves you forward. Every moment you spend caught in distraction, in drama, in fear, that's energy wasted. That's energy you'll never get back. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to fix everything. You just have to focus. Focus on what matters. Focus on who you're becoming. Focus on the direction you want to go. Because when your focus is aligned with your mission, your energy becomes unstoppable. People think greatness comes from complexity. They think building a legacy requires doing 1,000 things, juggling every opportunity, being everything to everyone. But that's a lie. Real legacy isn't built in chaos, it's built in clarity. Simplicity is what creates power. It's what sharpens focus. It's what allows consistency to take root. The people who leave the biggest impact don't do it by chasing everything. They do it by doing one thing with relentless commitment. Not for a week, not for a month, but for years. We live in a world that celebrates overload, more goals, more projects, more plates spinning in the air. But the truth is, the more you add, the more divided you become. And divided people don't build legacies. They stay busy, but never go deep. They stay distracted, but never leave a mark. It's not the person who dabbles in 10 different directions who makes history. It's the one who chooses one path and walks it with discipline, with obsession, with heart. Legacy doesn't come from hype. It doesn't come from chasing trends or doing what looks good in the moment. It comes from doing the hard thing consistently. It comes from showing up for the mission when no one's watching. It comes from choosing substance over style. Simplicity is not weakness, it's discipline. It takes strength to say no to all the noise and narrow your life around what matters most. The world will offer you 100 detours, 1,000 shiny distractions, endless reasons to jump ship. Simplicity is the courage to stay on course, to stay with your craft, to build depth instead of chasing width. The people who inspire the world didn't master everything, they mastered something. And they did it so well, for so long, with so much focus, that the world couldn't ignore it. Whether it's an athlete, an inventor, a teacher, an artist, a leader, Their power came from simplicity. They weren't complicated, they were committed. And that commitment gave birth to excellence. The mistake most people make is thinking they'll be remembered for doing more. So they keep adding, thinking more effort means more impact. But impact isn't created by volume, it's created by value. And value comes from mastery. You can't master something when your attention is always elsewhere. You can't leave a legacy when you're always changing course. You build it by simplifying your life down to what matters most and giving it everything you've got. This doesn't mean your life will be easy. Simplicity isn't about taking the easy route. It's about choosing the right one. It's about understanding what you're here to do and eliminating everything that doesn't serve it. That takes courage, that takes clarity, but most of all, it takes restraint. The restraint to say no over and over again to things that are good but not great, to things that are comfortable but not aligned, to things that are popular but not purposeful. When your life is simple, your energy is concentrated. You're not constantly switching gears. You're not trying to impress everyone. You're not spreading yourself so thin that you lose your fire. You're dialed in. You know what your one thing is, and you pursue it with heart, with grit, and with discipline. That's where legacy is born. Not in noise, but in focus. Not in volume, but in vision. Simplicity doesn't mean your life will be small. It means your life will be intentional. It means you'll stop living on autopilot and start living on purpose. You'll start saying yes to the things that align with your mission and no to everything else. And over time, that alignment will create something powerful, something lasting, something that doesn't fade when trends shift or opinions change. That's what a legacy is, a life that mattered long after the moment has passed. So don't buy into the myth that you need to do it all. You don't. You just need to do what matters most and do it with excellence. Cut the fluff, drop the noise, focus your energy, live simple, think clear, move with intention. And if you do that consistently, deliberately, you won't just make progress, you'll make history.